Oh shit. Here we go again.
And the monkey off the back for Ryan Day. And you know what? I think I have to eat crow personally.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you
I
do.
have
You
to,
should
I have to,
probably.
I have to take a couple steps back here. All right. I said a lot of things in the past about Ryan Day. And I want him gone. And he's not good enough for Ohio State, not competent enough. And
I just think. I mean, I get it. Trust me. I'm a UK basketball fan, so I get being part of a crazy ass fan base, irrational, knee jerk reaction type. So I get that aspect of it. But the man has only lost like 10 games in 6 years or whatever.
yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I don't care. Y'all are gonna have to let the Michigan thing go. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, is it cool to beat Michigan? Yeah, but would you rather lose to Michigan and win a national championship, or
Hell yeah.
or beat Michigan and lose in the first round of the playoff or not make the playoff?
Bing, bop, boop, boop, bop, bam. Type of shit I'm on you.
That's
Type
what
of
he
shit I'm on
says.
you wouldn't understand. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Real Conversations with Cozy and Murph. We have a lot of football to dive into as we're closing out the NFL season. We have the divisional round matchup. We're going into conference championship week. Some big matchups this weekend leading into the Super Bowl. We're down to 3 football games left on the year, and it's sad. It's sad. I know we said this last week, but we're running out of time. We had the national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Shout out to Buckeyes. We'll wrap into all that, and we'll talk about coaches on the move. Talk about Ben Johnson and what this means for the Lions, Bears, and Glenn Davis to the Jets. And I think UK won the other day too, yeah?
Oh, we lost to Alabama on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's like a 4-point game, I think. 5-point game.
Was that when you guys were like, it was like double bonus with 10 minutes left in the second half? Is that the game I'm thinking of?
Yeah, Alabama, I think they shot like a significant amount of more free throws than we did. It's kind of been a recurring theme for the Cats this year. We're not getting to the line for whatever reason. I don't know if we're just not being aggressive. I think, well, I can tell you part of it is we shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah.
And so that probably, we're not as aggressive towards the rim when I think, if you're hitting the threes, then keep shooting them. But there's certain times I get frustrated watching, and it's like, man, you've missed 4 or 5 threes in a row. Why don't we try to get closer to the rim, take a higher percentage shot, and work inside out instead of, just jacking up threes all the time? And I guess, the game's changed, and maybe I sound like an old head, talking, but
y'all do shoot a lot of threes though.
And that's just the way Pope runs his offense. That's the way it's like everybody has a green light to shoot whenever they want, pretty much.
You got an inch of space, send it.
And it has its pros and its cons. It's just hard to overcome a bad shooting night whenever you're just constantly jacking up threes.
I was saying this the other day that they remind me of the Knicks teams of like Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, Amon Shumpert, the teams that would just live by the 3, die by the 3. Like they didn't give a damn. They were chucking them threes. It reminds me of the Carmelo Anthony New York Knicks teams.
Yeah, it's high paced. We get a lot of possessions, I feel like, that way.
Yeah.
So But we're still doing well. We're still ranked in the top 10.
Yeah.
We're number 9.
Yeah. And it's a tough conference. It's like your guys' losses are better than most people's wins.
Yeah, we lost 102-97 to Alabama.
Yeah. Tough.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how the SEC went from like the best football conference. Now, obviously, they're not the best. You can't say that anymore. The Big Ten, the last 2 years, has been the premier conference in football. But now you look at the SEC in basketball, and we've got 10. What is it? We started off with like 6 out of the top 10 teams, ranked teams, were in the SEC, which is nuts.
Yeah. SEC basketball is no joke. Pretty much every named team is a team that can beat you. The only team you guys have only lost to SEC teams and
Clemson and Ohio State.
Yep. And Clemson was a tough one.
Yeah, Georgia and Alabama. That's our 4 losses.
Yep.
We got Vanderbilt next on Saturday, and I mean they're not any pushovers either. They just beat Tennessee this past Saturday.
That's a huge win too.
They're 15 and let's see, hold on, 15 and 3, I believe.
Yeah.
15 and 4, 9th in the SEC, but they're unranked, so I don't really understand that. But
when do rankings come out for your basketball? Is it like every Monday?
Yeah, so they just came out a couple days ago.
Yeah. You'd think after knocking off Tennessee, but maybe next week we'll see how they play against UK. When do you play them? You said
Saturday.
That'll be a good game. I have to tune in for that. I'll be at work, so I'll watch it at work. But you been good this last week? You enjoyed the football over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean it was entertaining. I mean we had some good games and we had some surprises.
Yeah.
Obviously, Washington and Detroit game was definitely did not go the way that everybody expected it to go. I guess we'll just start off with that game in our recap.
So that's a good one to start off with. The Commanders overcome the Detroit Lions 45-31, which shocked everybody. I think everybody kind of came in. All the money was on the Lions to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels is just built different. I feel like we haven't seen a quarterback with such poise and he's just so ice cold out there. It doesn't ever seem like he's rattled or like the moment's too big for him. And he just goes out there and executes and then makes the plays whenever he has to, makes all the throws whenever he has to, and takes care of the ball. I feel like that's probably the main thing is he takes care of the ball. He does not get loose with the ball ever. And that's really what has kept them in kept these games so close throughout the season for the Commanders is not putting your defense in a bad position with a turnover.
Yeah. This Washington team has been playing lights out, especially down the stretch and in the playoffs. I mean, for Jaden Daniels to be, 22 of 31, 200. Basically 300-yard game, 2 touchdowns. And also too on this side, their defense has stepped up and is playing, some of its best football. Like to force Jared Goff into 3 interceptions, to get a pick from Williamson. Well, there was a fumble in there too, I believe. They had 5 turnovers.
Yes, Goff lost a fumble as well. He got strip sacked and lost the fumble. Had 2 picks along with, like you said, Jameson Wilson. Jameson Williams also had a terrible interception. He should not have thrown the ball. He should have just thrown it away or
just ran.
Or, literally just taking the sack. That would have been way better than throwing a pick in that situation.
The Commanders look fantastic. They're hot right now. Like, getting hot at the right time. It plays plays the key in the playoffs. You want to be hot right at the end of the year and then roll into the playoffs hot. They've got that. But I also think there's something to the idea that they're just young enough and dumb enough in the leadership positions to be like, hey, fuck it.
Why
Why
not
not?
us?
Yeah. And they've got enough savvy vets too to like understand what it takes. Like McLaurin's been doing this for years now. He's finally in this position. He's
Right.
going to do whatever it takes. They've got what's his name? That linebacker from the Seattle,
Bobby Wagner. I was going to say,
Hayes.
there's two names that you have to mention when it comes to veteran leadership, and that would be Bobby Wagner on the defensive end, and then you've got Zach Ertz on the offensive side. And Zach Ertz has came up with some of the biggest catches of the season for the Commanders this year, along with De'Ami Brown, which he's not. I mean, he's been in the league for a few years. I wouldn't consider him a vet per se, but he's had a huge postseason this year. He's one of those guys that has come out of obscurity and really put his name on the map. He's probably getting paid this offseason, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, their defense, like you said, I feel like they have gotten hot right at the right moment, right at the end of the season here in the playoff run. And when you've got a leader like Bobby Wagner and you've got a defensive coach like Dan Quinn who really knows his stuff, he is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. It's a recipe for a team that if they believe in themselves and they execute, there's no reason why they can't beat anybody right now. So it's just like the perfect storm. And I feel like on the Lions side, that was kind of, I mean, this game was just like a perfect storm for Detroit to lose this game. Like, they came out, I feel like, I don't want to say they overlooked this game, but they definitely were not prepared mentally. You could just tell from the get-go on this game. And there was just a lot of mental mistakes. I think Jared Goff was off of his game for the whole game. There wasn't ever a point wherever it seemed like he was in his groove per se. It was always felt like he was under duress, under pressure. He never felt comfortable in the pocket. He did make some good throws, but he also made some terrible decisions, throwing the ball down the field in the coverage, and it resulted in turnovers. And it was just the defensive side. I mean, you had so many guys injured. They were on their third and fourth, reserve players in a lot of positions defensively. So, like I said, it just seemed like it was a perfect storm for Detroit to come in here as what was it, like a 9.5 point favorite, or I can't remember the exact.
It was 9.5,
But yeah, it was just like the moment that you sent me that screenshot of the guy that was talking about, show me a Commander's money line ticket, I was like, they're going to freaking win this game. Like, I didn't believe it enough to actually put money on the money line. But I was like, watch them fucking win this game right here. And that's exactly what happened.
92% of betting money was on Detroit to cover.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That it happens every time that happens. It's like you might as well just bet the opposite.
Just based on principle alone, like everybody's rooting for this one outcome. I might as well be the one guy who goes against it. So,
Lord, I feel for the Lions. They put up a fantastic season. They've come such a long way, but it's also a reminder too that in the NFL, like you take nobody and nothing for granted. It is a week-to-week game. Anybody can win on any given, Sunday or Saturday, wherever they play. Any given game can go to either team. So you got to be prepared. You got to bring your stuff, and especially in the divisional round matchup. Like you said, I know they were very shorthanded defensively, but also in the same thing, I felt like they didn't bring the right kind of package or defensive approach to slowing down Jaden Daniels in this offense.
And it's hard to coach up guys that you're just bringing in off the street. That might have a week or two of practice. Because they're filling a spot of somebody who had practiced all year and now injured. And it was just a perfect. It was a perfect spot for them to. It was just a perfect letdown game, and it sucks because everybody was rooting for Detroit. I feel like outside of the, if you weren't like an actual Commanders fan, I feel like you're probably rooting for the Lions because it's been so long. I mean, Detroit's never been good, really. I mean,
Yep.
the Commanders have at least won a Super Bowl before. It might have been 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But Detroit, they haven't been relevant ever really since
Yeah.
since Barry Sanders and even before that. So
Yeah.
it sucks, and it feels like this was the year, kind of like the Ravens. This was the year that if they were going to do it, this was their window because losing both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, you could tell if you watched Dan Campbell's post game conference. It was he was pretty
England.
emotional. He can tell that it's hard to replace a guy like Ben Johnson or a guy like Aaron Glenn,
Yeah.
who are two of the best coordinators in the league right now, and obviously they have gone on to get head coaching jobs elsewhere. So brutal loss for Detroit. I don't know, where you go from here. Obviously, you're going to run it back. You're going to get Aiden
Yeah.
Hutchinson healthy again next year, hopefully, and you're going to be able to get your defensive or get your your defensive unit back healthy and kind of retool your offense a little bit. But they're going to be all right.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
I
Detroit will
just
be
feel
fine.
like I texted you during the game and said this. I said Goff just feels like a glorified Kirk Cousins. He reminds me of like the reason why he looks so good is because he's got so many weapons.
Yeah.
And in the big moments, I feel like he freezes or he just
Yeah.
makes bad choices. I mean, you even going back to the Super Bowl when he played for the Rams, and it was the same. I know he was a lot younger. He was
Yeah.
like a second year player back then, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like he's made that final step. He has gotten a lot better. Don't get me wrong. He is a totally different quarterback now than he was back then. But I don't feel like he has progressed past the point of the choke factor
Yeah.
of, you have to, when it's all down to the QB, I feel like I'm not betting on him.
Yeah.
And I feel like they moved off of Jahmyr Gibbs too much in this game. I know they
Yeah.
had David Montgomery back, but
But
I mean Gibbs
he
is
had
the
been so
better.
high.
Yeah, Gibbs is the better running back. I mean Montgomery, for all of his toughness and all he's worth, he was coming off a knee injury. He hadn't had the
Yeah.
reps, and like you said, Jahmyr Gibbs is the hot hand. I mean, you have to stick with that.
Yeah.
And
I think they got away from what their identity was. It was running the football first, and they started slinging the ball around.
they tried to get cute and run these trick plays.
Ben Johnson was trying to dive deep into his bag of tricks, and it wasn't working. And I mean, which we'll get to Ben Johnson later on and what he's going to do. I think it was a bold move, and we'll see what happens with the Bears. But I want to say good on the Commanders. First time in the NFC Championship since 1991. 1991. And they beat the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl in 1991. So it's kind of double-edged sword for the Lions and a cool throwback victory for the Commanders in the same breath.
Yeah, I mean the Commanders are definitely an exciting team to watch.
Yeah.
I will say they're one of the better, more fun teams to watch in the league.
Yeah, they remind me of that Rams team from years ago when Goff was young and they were slinging the football around everybody. They had Gurley in the backfield and they were just nasty.
Yeah, they were young and like you said, they don't have enough experience to really think about it. Just go out there and play and ball out and just say, why not us? Why can't we get it done?
Yeah.
I mean,
tough matchup this week with Philly, but third time playing the Commanders. I'm nervous.
Y'all split in the season, didn't you?
Well, yeah, we split, and the second time they played Kenny Pickett, but we'll dive into that once we get to our conference championship matchups. Let's talk about the other Saturday game. That was the Texans going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. This game, it wasn't a pretty game by any means. Texans were in it for most part, but it felt like every chance they got, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. The game ended up being 14-23. It was 12-23, and there was a safety. It wasn't, I don't know how to explain. It wasn't as close as the score says. It was basically in hand by Chiefs for the most part. Travis Kelce had a huge game, 7 receptions, 117 yards. I tell you what, buddy, I'm tired of talking about the Chiefs and how good they are and how they always make it here. So
Everybody's tired of it.
7 straight.
7 straight AFC championship games. It's, the AFC runs through Kansas City. It's pretty much guaranteed every year. Except for last year. They were on the road last year in the AFC championship. They went to Baltimore, but it's beside the point. I've got 2 things on this game.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Chiefs fan by any means, but I feel like as a sports fan, you have to appreciate greatness. Yep. Okay. I don't care what you say about Patrick Mahomes. He is the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah.
Does he get the benefit of the doubt on a lot of these calls, as far as roughing the passer and helmet-to-helmet contact? And does he, ham it up and flop a little bit whenever, there is some contact, maybe when he goes out of bounds? Sure. I'll be the first one to stand up and admit that he does get calls that other players don't. Fine. But MJ got calls that other players didn't. LeBron gets calls that other players don't. When you're at that level, when you're at the tippity top of the mountain, when you're the face of the league, you get the benefit of the doubt. Yep. So that's just the way it goes in sports. Whenever you're the best of the best, you're gonna get that call. So, it's obviously it's not fair. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's fair, but I just get tired of everybody bitching and complaining. Oh my God, I can't believe Patrick Mahomes got this call. Blah blah blah. I can believe it. I mean, it's not a surprise at this point anymore. And to piggyback off that point, greatness. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of all time. Travis Kelce, if not the best tight end of all time. He's definitely the best postseason tight end of all time. He's got to be either him or Gronk. Those are the only 2 choices. Yeah. And then you have Spagnuolo, who is arguably the greatest postseason defensive coordinator of all time. This was a absolute defensive masterclass by the Kansas City Chiefs. Another absolute masterpiece by the defensive unit. 8 sacks for 58 yards. You want to sit here and talk about the refs and the refereeing and the officiating, but you go back and look at it, it's pretty much even on the penalties. I feel like Kansas City might have had more penalties. I don't see the penalty yardage on here, but either way, maybe don't give up 8 sacks. Maybe protect your quarterback and you might win that game. Yeah. Maybe hit a field goal. I mean, people want to sit here and blame the refs for giving the game to Kansas City, but the reality is they were the better football team that, on that Saturday. They just were. And if you go back and look at the stats, if you watch the game, it was clear that Kansas City was the better team.
It's a fair point. I think Kansas City is found their identity, especially in the last 2 seasons, even though, they've lost some key playmakers over this season and last season. When everybody doubted who they were or what their identity was, they found their groove, and every week they bring to the table a team that, facing all odds, is very hard to beat. Like, that's just, you can't outlast them. You can't break them down. Whenever you need something, like you said, it goes to Patrick Mahomes, and the last however many games it is for game-winning drives or game-sealing situations, he's essentially undefeated. Whether it's get the pass off at the right time to the right guy or scramble drill and he finds Kelsey who's on the same page as him, or he scrambles himself and picks up 20 yards out of nowhere. He's even done it on injury. I hate to say it, it's like, you get tired of you get, what is it, fatigue for these players, but
when you're that good at, you
can't deny
you're
greatness.
exactly. Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. It's undeniable. You cannot deny. As much as you might hate him, and it's like the conversation with LeBron, I've always been a LeBron hater, but even I have to stand up and say he's top 2 all time. Like I'll always defend MJ and say MJ is the best basketball player of all time, but even I have to say LeBron is number 2. If he's not number 1, he's number 2. So I mean, it's just, it is what it is. You see it on the field. And like I said, he might get the benefit of the doubt from some of these refs, but that's what happens whenever you're a 3-time Super Bowl champion and are going for a three-peat.
Yep. Respect to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Hats off to the Texans for finding a way to finish out a season full of injuries and all the haters that said CJ Stroud was going through a sophomore slump, which he did have, I wouldn't say regression. He had a, back towards the median of the league year, but I think this was expected with, what they faced this season. And I think the Texans, they're in prime position to continue to be great.
Yeah, they're still trending upward. And one more point is like the part of my take guys were saying, you have to play perfect football against the Chiefs. If you give them a 1 inch, one opening, they're gonna make you pay. They're gonna capitalize. If you get a drive extending penalty on 3rd and long or whatever, they're gonna make you pay for it. They're gonna put points on the board, and so it's almost like you have to play a perfect game. The formula for beating Kansas City is play perfect, and pretty much no team has been able to do that outside of the 2 losses, that the regular season losses they've had.
Yeah.
But shout out to CJ Stroud. Obviously, it's going to get a little bit tougher whenever there's a full year of game tape on you. The defensive coordinators are going to be able to kind of scheme up, what your weaknesses are as a passer, as a quarterback overall. And I think his O-line took a big step back. I don't know what it was about this year opposed to last year, but it just seemed like the O-line play went downhill very, very badly this year.
I think they faced a bunch of injuries on their O-line too this season, which, shit happens obviously, but they're like I said, they're in a good position for what their future is going to be.
Especially in their division.
Yeah.
I mean, that division is pretty much Houston, because I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to, unless he takes a huge leap forward in this offseason, I don't think, he's anybody to really fear. I mean, he's athletic and he's got a cannon of an arm, but I don't know, how good he is as an actual passer of the football. And you've got Tennessee, who is in shambles right now. Will Levis is obviously not it. They're going to have to figure something out at quarterback. And then you've got the Jaguars, who are also in absolute shambles, just fired their coach, are probably going to relocate to London in the next 2 to 3 years. And they have their quarterback, but there's still questions surrounding Trevor Lawrence. Is he the guy of the future? I know they paid him as if he was the QB of the future, but can he stay healthy? Is he taking steps back? Is he going to continue to get better, or has he hit his peak? So, future's bright for Houston for sure.
Yeah. They're gonna be all right, and good on, like I said, good on CJ Stroud, good on the Texans. Congratulations, Chiefs, on the 7th straight AFC Championship appearance. All right, I respect greatness. I'm not gonna talk shit. I'll be happy for him, Lord. All right, Let's move on to the Sunday games. We had the early one, which was the Rams going into Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Rams fall 22-28 to Philly. Behind Saquon Barkley's 26 carries, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns in what seems was another Philly snowball great, which we might be undefeated in snowball games because I feel like every time we have a snowball or snow game, one of our whatever running back we have just absolutely goes bananas. Yeah. And I'll give major props to the Rams. I said I was very scared of the Rams, and I wasn't kidding. And they played a fantastic game, and even down to the last seconds.
Yeah,
like
they were like a couple plays away from winning that game. So
they had us right there at the end. Thankfully, our defense stepped up and closed it out.
Jalen Carter came up huge on that last sack on Matthew Stafford. Yeah, Rams put up a good fight, man. They did, but they just ran out of steam in this. In the middle of the fourth quarter, it seemed like they ran out of steam, and they're just not used to that weather. That much snow. It's hard to simulate that. I mean, it's virtually impossible to simulate that environment or that weather whenever you're a West Coast dry, humid, or not humid, but a West Coast dry heat type team. You can't simulate that in practice. So the Eagles did their job. They did what they had to do. Saquon went the fuck off, 200 yards, over 200 yards, 2 tutties, a 78-yard touchdown run. Jalen Hurts, he had, a 45-yard touchdown run. I feel like the one weakness for Philly is the passing game. They're going to have, what's going to happen whenever Saquon can't run for 150 yards? Jalen is going to have to, and I'm also worried about his health because I saw where he got rolled up on and his knee kind of bent at an awkward angle. So, I mean, there's some cause for concern. I do feel like, though, going into next week, Philly is obviously the better team on paper, and they've been solid all year. So it's a great matchup for the NFC Championship. I don't feel like for both games, I don't feel like we could have asked for better matchups here.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they're gonna have to figure something out in the passing game to get it to open up a little bit, because they're gonna have to pass for more than 128 yards.
Yeah,
they can't run for damn near 300 yards again. That's not repeatable or duplicate. You can't duplicate that.
Yeah. Which I think it's coming. I think Jalen played a clean game, but the game plan obviously didn't come to needing those passing yards at the end of it. It broke down.
And I think that Philly's good at adapting their what they just do what they have to do. They don't really rely on one facet of the game or the other. It's just whatever we need to do to win is what we're going to do. Much like comparable to the Kansas City Chiefs, we're just going to do whatever we need to win. We're not worried about blowing everybody out. We're not worried about style points. We just want to win the game. Whatever we have to do to get that done. So,
which we'll see how things play out moving forward. It is a tough
Quinyon Mitchell, he went out of the game. Is he going to be healthy?
Him and Jalen sat out practice today, but it seems like they're both trending towards playing. So I'm hopeful for the best. I know Jalen's going to play. Jalen's fine. I don't know about Quinyon. He's going to be tough, but we need him, especially in a matchup against a damn good passing team. So we need him to be good to go, healthy, whatever. It's going to be, I'm hoping at least. But keep running the fucking ball, Saquon. And if Jalen needs a pass, hopefully he's good to go. Hopefully he's prepared mentally. If anybody can, step up to a big game. Jalen's done it time and time again, and I can't sit here and doubt him or say anything bad about him.
I'm just worried about his mobility. That's all.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to get out and run, or get out, escape the pocket, and throw accurately down the field? That's really my number one worry about Philadelphia. If he can execute, they win the game.
Yeah.
Because they're the better team.
Yeah.
As much as I would love the Commanders, see the Commanders be in the Super Bowl, just not because I hate Philly, but just because we've seen Philly in the Super Bowl, in the last few years, it'd be cool to see the Commanders go. But
yeah,
I think Philly will win.
Yeah.
I think the line's up to 6.5.
Oof.
If it gets up to over 7, I'm taking Philly for sure. I just feel like, or I'm taking Washington. Sorry, if it gets up over 7.5, I'm not sure what I'm going to bet yet, but if it gets up over 7.5, I'm definitely taking Washington. Just because like you said, this will be the third time they've played.
Yeah.
Divisional game. It's going to be a rock fight.
I think it all comes down to how do we control the clock? Are we going to be able to control clock? Are we, what I'm saying? Like, if we can't, that's going to be a situation for us to figure out. I don't know. If they hold the ball or they get the ball downfield, how are we going to play from behind? This Hurt's going to step up, but we'll get into that. Let's roll into this Sunday night game, which was the Ravens going to Buffalo to play the Bills. Instant classic game, down to the wire. I mean, what a game that it was. We have Ravens falling 25-27, and it came, down to Mark Andrews and a 2-point conversion and a drop at the end.
This is a story of the Ravens turnovers. Killed them.
Yep.
You can't turn the ball over against a team like the Bills at that rate. And Lamar, his turnovers kind of get overshadowed by what happened with Mark Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
But they played just as a pivotal role in the outcome of this game as Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews' turnover and subsequent drop just gets amplified because of the situation of the game. It was late in the fourth quarter when he fumbled the ball, and then obviously he dropped I still to this day cannot understand how he dropped that ball. It was right in his hands, right in his breadbasket. All he had to do was squeeze it and fall, and the game's tied. It's one of those replays that's just if you're a Ravens fan, you're gonna have absolute nightmares about that play for years and years to come. But
because realistically, the Ravens controlled this game like on from an offensive stat standpoint, because it wasn't like Josh Allen was going off.
no,
it wasn't like James Cook was going off.
No, and you watch this game, Buffalo played very conservative. I feel like very conservative. They didn't really push the ball down the field much. They didn't take many chances. They ran the ball a lot and just played ball control football. And really, they just let Baltimore play themselves out of the game. Yeah. And brilliant. That was a brilliant move by the Bills. Hey, let's just not do too much and let's just capitalize on their mistakes and get out of here with the win. And that's exactly what they did. For all intents and purposes, Baltimore is the better team. On paper, they are the better team, roster-wise. But they just did not execute. And I feel like that's one of Lamar's worst tendencies is in the big games. I feel like he tries to do too much sometimes.
Yep.
And like on that fumble that he lost, just go down. Just go down. Yep. There's no reason for you to try to extend that play right there. Just go down, take the sack, and then at worst comes worst, you can just punt the ball. But no, you give up the fumble and then they return it down to the 10 or the 15, 20 yard line, and boom, automatic points pretty much for the Bills.
Yep.
So everybody wants to sit here and hate on Mark Andrews for fumbling the ball and dropping that ball. But the fact of the matter is, if Lamar doesn't throw that pick or have his fumble, they're probably not in that situation. So it's just it was just an all around bad game for the offensive unit, and I feel bad for Derrick Henry because this felt like the year for him to finally make it to past the AFC Championship, get it into a Super Bowl, and maybe be able to win it. I think they still have a slight window open.
Yeah, I don't feel it's tight.
It's getting tight. It's getting closer and closer.
Yeah,
they're not getting any younger. Derrick Henry's not getting any younger.
And it's like you got to think of a guy who's been doing this for so long in Derrick Henry. It's like, how many more miles can this truck load?
Tractor Cedo.
Yeah, it's like he put on a lot of miles just this season alone trying to carry this offense. He did what he could in this game too. He had a good game against the Bills. I mean, he did what he had to do. He got into the end zone. Yeah.
Yep. 16 carries, 84 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah,
you can't ask much more out of a 30-year-old running back, pretty much. I think he's 29. He'll be 30.
It's crazy. He's only 30 years old, and we're talking about like he's younger than us.
That's old. That's old for a running back, though. I mean, that's hella old for a running back.
And he's been doing it for 8 years now.
Since he came out, since he came to the league, he's been putting up numbers.
Yeah. Sorry, Derrick Henry, but good for Buffalo.
Yeah, I was gonna say on the flip side, good for Buffalo, man. They get another crack at Kansas City. Josh Allen, it feels like Josh Allen. If anybody was going to do it, it was going to be Josh Allen to beat Kansas City, to knock off Mahomes. Now, is that going to be the result? I don't know. Kansas City has the black magic witchcraft, just
Taylor
luck.
Swift.
Taylor Swift, Satan worship, whatever. But Buffalo has the team to do it this year. I feel like they have all the confidence in the world. They're riding high.
Yep.
They have the pieces. They just have to put it together now.
Yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. We got 2 good matchups for championship weekend. I'm excited to see, what comes, which we can push forward into talking about these conference championship matchups. Who we got first? We've got my computer will
Commanders Eagles 2 p.m. on Fox Sunday.
2 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Commanders going to Philly to play the Eagles. I know you said you'd take Commanders if it pushed to 7. You got you got Eagles outright though.
Yeah, I got Eagles money line. I'm apprehensive about it just because of what happened last week with Detroit, but Detroit feels like fakers. Philadelphia feels like the real deal.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's different when it's a divisional opponent. It's a team you've already played twice this year.
Yeah.
And you play them twice every year. And
we've seen Jaden twice this year. We've seen what he can do. But damn, I said I was terrified of the Rams. I am terrified of the Commanders.
You'd be stupid not to be terrified after the postseason that they've had so far. And the regular season, honestly.
Yeah. I mean 12-5 ain't no slouch.
No. But I feel like that is a good thing, though, you have to respect your opponent. And I feel like maybe that's kind of what Detroit didn't do. They kind of were looking ahead to who we're going to play in the conference championship instead of who are we going to play in the divisional round. So
this is a fun matchup. There's a lot of good storylines. Obviously, it's the NFC East divisional matchup. You got Zach Ertz coming back to Philly for a chance to Super Bowl. I mean, he's a Super Bowl legend for Philadelphia. He's a legend for the Eagles just in general. This is going to be a storyline game and one of the games of the ages. Like this is going to be something that a lot of people tune in for. I mean, it's only what, like, I think it was under 100 miles between Washington and Philly, so you know
Yeah.
that it's going to be packed out. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Tickets as low as $491. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's probably the highest seat in the arena. It's probably like up the
Nosebleed.
flagpole.
Yeah.
It's sitting at it's Philly -6 right now. Total
Yeah.
over unders 47.5. I mean,
I feel like there'll be points.
I don't know, man. It feels like 6 is a lot though for
6 is a lot
for
this kind of big
for
conference
a
championship
if it
match.
wasn't a divisional matchup.
Yeah, this
I
is
feel
a
like
rivalry, you know.
Yeah, I feel like 6 would be okay, but I just feel like 6 is a lot.
Yeah,
Especially how, with the concerns that I do have with Philly, like I said, with Jalen's mobility and the being able to open up the pass game. So I think this is more like 3.5, maybe.
yeah.
I could see this.
I was gonna say like 4. Yeah,
I could see this being a 20, Commanders 20, Eagles 24 game.
yeah.
Or Eagles 23.
Something
I could see
tight.
something. Yeah, under 47. Especially if it snows.
Yeah, it's gonna be 39. So I think we're all
Good
right
on
on
snow. You never know though.
You never know, dude. It's cold
Especially
front
with
pushing
this.
through right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know. I got Philly. I need Philly back at the Super Bowl. I need another crack at it.
Yeah, Eagles money line, Commanders +6.
Yeah,
Give me under 47.5.
that's fair.
Give me a anytime touchdown, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, need a Saquon. Nah, anytime you put money on Saquon, it means Jalen Hurt 1-yard touchdown.
250 passing yards, Jaden Daniels, 50
Yeah.
rush yards.
At least, yeah, he's gonna have to move a little bit. We got some good defensive players. All right, let's talk this 6:30 Bills going to Kansas City, play the Chiefs, Arrowhead. One more crack at it for Josh Allen and the boys to take down the Chiefs and end their chance at a three-peat. Kansas City is a 2-point favorite, and the total is 47.5. I can see this being an under game.
I think it's going to be an under game as well.
Yeah.
I think both of these games are going to be defensive. Close. It's going to be defensive games. I feel like all four defenses are competent enough to play too high safety or whatever and keep these offenses bottled in and limit them to field goals and chew clock, force that type of game. I think I already put money on Chiefs -1.5. It's bumped up to 2 now, so a lot of some money has come in on Kansas City. I just feel like, as much as everybody would love for Buffalo to beat Kansas City, I don't.
I can't.
You can't go against Mahomes on less than a 3 or less point favorite. He always covers at home. And as much as I love Josh Allen and watching him play, and as much as the Bills deserve this, I just feel like the Chiefs are the better team. I feel like the defense is. I feel like they're more capable than the Bills' defense is at shutting down their opponent. I just don't see any receiver for Buffalo really being a threat.
Yeah. I feel like the Bills' defense is more susceptible to giving up the chunk play than the Chiefs' defense. The Chiefs' defense will shut you down, and like we said earlier, Spagnuolo, that boy's cooking something up right now, and it's gonna be tough to overcome the Chiefs. It's gonna be tough. Can't bet against Mahomes, dude.
And they've been in so many close games this year.
Yeah,
I feel like the Bills haven't. They've been dominant. They've dominated a lot. a lot of their wins were blowout wins, it feels like. I mean, they have been in some close games, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like the Chiefs, that's just what they do. They're not, if it's a one possession game going down the stretch, we got this in the bag, dog. We got Mahomes, you know?
Yeah. I'd give it, I mean, I'm giving it to the Chiefs straight up. They're gonna win. And I'd say it's probably by a field goal or more. Kansas City covers.
Kansas City covers 1 and they're 2. It was 1.5. It's up to 2 now. So
I would very much love to see Josh Allen have a crack at a Super Bowl.
I'm taking Kansas City -2. Give me the under 47.5. Taking Travis Kelce 70+ receiving yards. He's had 70 or more in every game. Every game in his playoff career, he's had 70 or more yards receiving. So definitely take that.
Lock it in.
I'm taking Josh Allen anytime touchdown. I'll probably take the over on James Cook rushing yards. I don't know. Pacheco rushing yards. That's just something to think about. I don't know.
Kareem carried the load, I feel like, last game, so maybe I feel like they
stick with him
back. Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna ride the hot hand. I think Kareem's a safety valve in case Kareem has a mistake or something. I don't know. We'll see. But I like all those. Josh, get in on a rush. It's gonna happen. It's bound to happen. It's gonna be a desperation touchdown. I feel like he's gonna get in.
It's gonna be one of those get it down to like the 3-yard line, tush push type, you know.
Yeah.
Third and short, third and goal on the 3 or on the 2-yard line, tush push.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
God, I would love to see Josh Allen go Superman though and just fucking win this thing. And then
it's very possible, but it's just not likely.
Now, if they beat the Chiefs, I don't care who they play in the Super Bowl. I think they're just going to be riding so high they're going to knock off either Philly or Washington. Because I feel like it'll have cool.
It would be sick to see the Bills win a Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, knock that.
But it also would be sick to be. I just want to be able to tell my kids that, hey,
you saw the 3-peat.
Yeah, I was alive for the 3-peat. You know,
I watched all 3 games of that 3-peat.
Yeah.
It's like I watched Patrick Mahomes in his prime and Andy Reid and that great Kansas City Chiefs team. Oh, but I also could be like, yeah, but I watched the Buffalo Bills knock them off and ruin the chance at a 3-peat. That'd be a fun story to watch. There'll be a 30 for 30 on it or E60 or whatever the hell they do now.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Chiefs dynasty's in the making. All right, that's conference championships right there. We're excited. I'm excited for Sunday. I'll be at work, so I'm going to be watching from work, unfortunately. But I am undefeated at work, so I feel like it's only right that I'm there. I haven't lost a game when I'm at work. It seems like the 2 losses that I have on the season are at home. So I'm going to watch it from work.
That's a good omen.
It's a good omen. I'm going to be at work. I'm going to watch it. We're going to win. All right. Last thing I wanted to dive into was obviously the college football national championship. And the monkey off the back for Ryan Day. And you know what? I think I have to eat crow, personally.
Yeah, I think you do. You should probably...
I have to take a couple steps back here. All right. I said a lot of things in the past about Ryan Day. And I want him gone. And he's not good enough for Ohio State. Not competent enough. And
I just think... I mean, I get it. Trust me, I'm a UK basketball fan, so I get being part of a crazy-ass fan base. Irrational, you know, knee-jerk reaction type. So I get that aspect of it. But the man has only lost like 10 games in 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I don't care. Y'all are going to have to let the Michigan thing go. All right?
Yeah.
I mean, is it cool to beat Michigan? Yeah, but would you rather lose to Michigan and win a national championship, or
Hell yeah.
or beat Michigan and lose in the first round of the
Playoffs.
playoff or not make the playoff? I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Respectfully. There's a lot that can be said about the things that I've said about Ryan Day, his coaching.
he earned his vindication. He's validated in the eyes of the nation. You cannot hate on Ryan Day anymore. He did it. He brought a freaking championship to Ohio State.
He brought a championship to Ohio State. That's it right there. This team, I will give all the utmost credit to. Will Howard, salute to you, brother. A lot of people said you were going to be the worst quarterback in the playoff, and you proved that you were the most clutch. You could step up in the big moment. You, if anything, you made yourself an NFL prospect over the last, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You've put yourself in position to be somebody that'll probably get drafted at least the first 3 rounds. Hats off to the defense and Chip Kelly for redeeming himself in the football atmosphere. That's another guy too who's kind of like saved himself from the negative space of his name. Like, people talk so badly about Chip Kelly, but that man was in his bag for this playoff. I mean, he was really in there. And then,
well, I mean, whenever you have Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, it's kind of easy to get in your bag.
Dogs, yeah. It was a good unit. It was a great team.
Yeah. Ohio State was far and away the best team in the nation this year. I know they lost to Michigan, whatever. But they were the most talented, most dominant team this year. You look at the run that they made in the playoff, probably the hardest run in playoff history. Look at who they played.
It was like the hardest 4-game stretch imaginable.
Right, and they dominated. They beat Tennessee 42-17, the number 9 team in the nation, the number 9 seed. Then they go to Oregon, beat Oregon by 20, 41-21 at Oregon. Then they go to Texas and beat Texas 28-14 to go to the national championship, and then end up beating Notre Dame 34-23. So that 4-game stretch, arguably the hardest stretch in college football history. I mean, there's an argument to be made there.
Yeah.
And they absolutely deserve it. And as much as I, have my reservations against Ohio State, just because of the rowdy, crazy ass fan base, they were far and away, like I said, the best team. On the flip side of that, let's take a second and give Notre Dame their flowers. It would have been so easy for them to just lay down and roll over and let this game be a complete blowout. Everybody expected it, especially whenever Ohio State went up 21-7 at the end of the half.
Yep.
Everybody expected Notre Dame to just roll over and die, and they didn't. They made it a ball game. They fought to the very end, and they just came up short. Came up short. Riley Leonard is an absolute dog, man. I mean,
I'll give him his credits. Flowers.
255 yards, 2 touchdowns,
2 tutties.
17 carries.
Late too.
Yeah. Also, he had 17 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. It was great, gutty performance for Riley Leonard. They just didn't have enough firepower to stick with the supremely talented Buckeyes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That Jaden Greathouse, that receiver they got, he's legit too.
He's going to be good. 6 receptions, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jesus.
Yeah, we hadn't given up anything like that on the outside, and he put it to our corners. Jeremiah Smith, that boy's a fucking problem. He's gonna be
a number 1 pick probably.
Yeah,
he'll be a top 5 pick.
Bro's 18 years old.
Yeah, 18. He'll be a top 5 pick for sure.
Man, if I'm him, I play 6 games next year, and then six games the next year, and then I'm done.
Man, if they're in the playoff picture that he's going to play.
Yeah. Good for Ohio State.
Question:
I'm
does
happy.
Will Howard come back? Or
Nah,
is he a senior?
He's a senior, but also his draft stock is at its peak.
Yeah.
It's at its peak. If you were going to go, now's the time to go, buddy. You're going to get drafted into probably a pretty good situation being late. I'd say you probably fall in, at best you're in the second round somewhere. Somebody's going to take a shot on you.
Yeah, especially in a draft that's not quarterback heavy.
Yep. Fall to a good team, sit behind somebody.
This is a year to get a running back.
Oh yeah, there's so many.
This year's draft is a running back saturated, heavy.
There's going to be a lot of good backs. I mean, Judkins and Travion both are going to be great NFL running backs.
When you get, Ashton Genty, Cam Scatterbo.
Notre Dame's back. Jeremiah Love, he's gross. Which they got away from feeding him the ball. I don't know if he
only had 4 carries.
I know, it doesn't make any sense. Like he had eaten up everybody all season.
Something was up with that.
I don't know if he's fully healthy or not, but Jeremiah Love, 4 carries for 3 yards, 2 receptions. Yeah, that's crazy. He had a crazy good year. I want to say he was the leading back all year. Had 1,200 yards, 17 tutties. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know why. But good to be back on top. It'd be crazy if said it last week. The Eagles won it all and the Buckeyes won it all. I could probably stop watching football forever. Just go out on the mountaintop.
Yeah, you probably should.
Is there anything else you want to dive into before we get off here? Crack that thing out about an hour. Anything going on in the world that I'm forgetting?
Well, Elon Musk did give a Nazi salute
at you my heart.
At the presidential inauguration.
My heart goes out
to you. And he went, I was like, what are you fucking doing? Jesus.
I feel like he gets a pass because he's autistic.
Yeah, he's like borderline, special. So, no, other than that, sports related, I would just mention, Ben Johnson getting hired by the Bears and then Aaron Glenn going to the Jets. I hope this is a good hire for the Jets, but I just feel like this is the same thing they always do. Hire a defensive guy and then try to get like an Aaron Rodgers or a Kirk Cousins or, one of these washed up. I don't know, though. They did hire Adam Gase not too long ago, and that was an absolute disaster. So maybe they're just playing to their strengths of their roster, because their roster is a more defensive-oriented team. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I feel like Ben Johnson, though, is a very good hire for the Bears because you want a good offensive coordinator that is going to be able to work with Caleb Williams and kind of develop his talent. And that offensive unit is, loaded right now. So why not?
I think Ben Johnson's going to find a way to unlock whatever potential that Bears team has hidden, stored away. I like Ben Johnson's presser. I think he was one of the best opening pressers I've ever seen for a coach, aside from like Dan Campbell, maybe. Like, it was just fantastic. You can tell he's ready to take this on. Now, going in division, that's tough. Like, going from the Lions to the Bears, like, now you got to look Dan Campbell in the face across the field. But I think he likes the NFC North and all the rivalries that are there and the history. And imagine being the coach that turns around a franchise like Chicago and puts it back on top. There wouldn't be no better pinnacle than to kind of turn around a franchise like that with a, once in a lifetime or once in a generation quarterback. And Jets, I don't know. The Jets are a lost cause to me. I don't even think it's.
Did you see who Atlanta hired for their defensive coordinator?
What was his name?
Albrecht, for the interim coach for the Jets. Which is funny because whenever Atlanta fired Dan Quinn back in 2020, guess who the interim coaches were? Raheem Morris and Albrecht.
Yeah.
So we're right back where we were 5 years ago. I mean, I don't understand this fucking franchise, dude. I don't.
Gotta go backwards to go forwards or whatever. Somebody's gotta go backwards to go forwards.
I don't know, man. It's
Penix.
just, I don't know. The bright spot is Penix, Bijan, and Drake London. Outside of that, I'm not really fucking excited about next year. Hopefully something happens and
get rid of Kyle Pitts this offseason.
You can move off Kyle Pitts, fucking get a defense that can actually stop somebody.
Some younger cats. Oh, it'll be fun. All
right, but I guess that's all. That's all we got for you today. Off here.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, share, subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Got an intruder in here. Do us all a favor. Do us all a favor and spread the word. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Peace.
Peace.